Okay, we are live and we are super excited for the session using images that will help people take action. Let's see here. There's a little echo going on. Okay, we got two live. What we might do, maybe if you, I'm going to turn off your audio, and then when you speak, just turn your audio on. Does that work? And it's a mic button. We'll do it. There was a little echo going on, so one of you have a. So if you're going to speak, just turn your speaker on, and I will. Does that work? It's a blue button on the top corner. Okay, perfect. So go on mute, and then when you're ready to speak, turn back on. So let's see. I'm going to put you guys on mute here, and you're going to have to turn that on every time you speak. Does that make sense? Okay. 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 So everybody, we're here with a session, 12 o'clock, using images that will help people take action. I'm very excited for this. I know images is such a big part of helping people see your posts on Facebook and to pay attention to those posts. So we have Michelle Tunney, the founder of Helaman's Army, which is a Facebook group, amazing Facebook group. If you guys haven't participated, that's when you should join. And then we also have Heidi Chapman, founder of Missionary Mamas and social media specialist for Meridian Magazine. So we are super excited to have them to talk about this topic. And I've started out the last few sessions about asking people to, I started out with talking about a specific person, and that lets you adjust your questions to it. So we have missionaries today who've created Facebook pages, and they're trying to get their pages promoted and to reach millions of people. So they're focused on a local area, trying to get people to read their content, to view their content. They're also looking at, and they're also looking to get people to take action. And they're learning how to do images. Many of those cases are asking members to create images for their Facebook posts that help people come closer to Christ, help people learn more and wanting to contact them. So as they're creating those images, from your experience, if you were to tell this missionary or a member who's trying to create images for them, what are your suggestions to make sure that they have good images that will help people take action, right? If you gave them, here are my tips. Who would like to go first? Okay, remember you got to turn your, there you go. Okay,
yeah,
you go
Michelle,
first.
You go first. You go first.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds good.
Well, I think a quote comes to my mind. It's from President Monson, and he said, and I have it here, it says, if you want to give light to others, you must have to glow yourself. So I think before you even start looking for creating images, you need to make sure you're spiritually fed. That way you have the Spirit to be with you so you can be guided as you search for those images and which words that you want to place on that quote. I know I think is it called Canva?
Canva.
Yes. Yep. A Canva. I use that quite a bit when I create images, but I love Heidi's images. They are amazing. She makes great quotes.
So you're saying have the Spirit with you, study those out. When you create, let me ask you this, Michelle, when you create an image for your post, do you have someone in mind when you're creating those images so you kind of know what your reaction you're trying to get from them?
If you're looking through your feeds, right, you'll see how your audience is how they respond to what you're posting. If I post something about angels being with us and there's a huge response, that means people need to know they're not alone in this world. So then I will pray and search for something like that. I'll go to the scriptures, try to find a scripture to go with it. And sometimes I tie in a personal message because they need to know that they're not the only ones struggling, that, there are other people and a single phrase from what we can say can actually change somebody's life forever.
So I like that you pay attention to the content that is being successful out there. And then you also pay attention to what people are looking, what's the message and what people like about the image. And then you try to pick other images similar in your continuous message.
Yes.
Oh, that's a really good concept. And how do you get inspiration? And I'm going to ask Heidi here, but how do you get inspiration from other images to know what to use? Like, how do you know what to get next? Like, where do you get your inspiration to know, oh, I'm going to write this post. What kind of image should I use? Where do you get that?
Michelle?
Let's go to Michelle, and then Heidi, I'm going to ask you as well. I want to finish it off here, Michelle. So how do you get your inspiration, Michelle? And I'll ask Heidi.
Well, I've been doing the finding joy in the journey, because right now in the world, we're facing a lot of stress and there's a lot of worries. So I go and I'll pray, and then I go to Pinterest and I will look for an image. And if I put in pictures of Jesus Christ, and then they pop up, and then I'm able to scroll through to find something. And when I feel that the spirit, when it's stronger, then I know that's the image that I need to use. And then from there, I will go and pray and find words to go with it.
Sounds good. That's a great way. So you Pinterest or Instagram helps you find image ideas that you can use as well. And Heidi, how do you? What advice would you give to this, missionary that is, or sister missionary looking to create images for their posts or members? What tips would you give them?
I would say know your audience. I started this whole, I didn't mean to start it, but I started it when I started Missionary Mama Group. And it started out that I was just, if a mom had a really great picture of her missionary, I would, and I quote from a general authority would come to mind. I would think, oh, that would go really good. So I would ask permission, send a message and say, hey, do you care if I put this quote on your elder's picture, your sister's picture? And they're usually super excited about that. And then we share it on the fan page, the Missionary Mama fan page, and into the big group. But that kind of strikes a chord. And when you have a missionary out, you want to have all things missionary. You're excited when you see it. And so knowing that those moms love their missionaries, and then we're seeing these awesome quotes from the general authorities and conference quotes on their missionaries' picture, it just really brings it home. For Meridian, I've got a wider group of people that we are including and trying to inspire each day. So I'm with Michelle on this. A lot of times I just go with that prompting, sometimes like a quote will catch my eye, or I do the same thing that Michelle does. I will scour through other websites, other Facebook pages and groups, and on Instagram, and try to find a quote that strikes home with me, or that stirs something inside of me. And then I try to find a picture that, what am I trying to say? A picture that brings up those same feelings, that matches the quote and how it's making me feel at that time. I'm super careful about the pictures that I use, and I think this is really important. If I was trying to talk with somebody who wanted to start doing this, that would be my first thing I would tell them is be super careful. I know that a lot of our missionaries are going to be using that Canva program on their phone, and it's small, and so it's really easy to post a picture or make a meme or a photo quote with a picture that you think is really good, but somebody's going to pick it apart. For example, I had a really neat picture, a really neat quote. I posted it, and a lot of people got really upset because I hadn't noticed that the girl was wearing a nose ring. And so instead of talking about the wonderful quote and how that all tied in, they had a big discussion about whether or not it's okay to have a nose ring. And so you just have to be careful, make sure your people are modest, to make sure that you are, your picture is an example of what that quote, what the Spirit's bringing up in you from that quote. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And there's several things I want to dive in from what you just said, but that's what I've learned. We have this group called Follow Jesus Christ with 350,000 people in it. But when you get an audience, you start building an audience, you need to think really well before you post, because you'll have some people that will like it, and some people that will completely not like it, and you'll you'll cause a lot of detractors. So I see that with some missionaries that they try to show off their talent, and maybe it's dancing or something else, and they post that on their website. And you'll have some people that are like, oh, I love that, super fun, really cool, right? That's a great thing. And especially those that have kids on a mission, they're like, oh, my son, I love him, right? But then I'm so proud of them. But then you'll have someone that's truly seeking the gospel, and they're literally looking for help, and they're like, they might be like, there's no way I'm talking to someone like this, right? Because they're looking for peace, comfort. They're looking to know more about the Savior. They're not looking for someone to dance. Same thing what you just said with images. You need to use the right image because you're portraying the Savior in those images. So if you use the nose ring, all of a sudden half your audience is gone, right? You've kind of killed it off. So that following the Spirit, using the right ways to do that, I think that's important. I don't know, Heidi, Michelle, if you have anything to comment on that one, but images, they make such a big difference. Those videos that you post make such a big difference. And if your audience if you even have a little bit of concern on how that's going to show, don't do it. I don't know, Michelle, what would you say?
I agree. Heidi understands this, and I'm sure you do too. There's always going to be criticism, no matter what you're posting. And I can't remember the talk that I read, but it's talked about being a disciple of Jesus Christ. And we can't counteract every type of criticism we receive. We just need to act as the Savior does and just love everybody, regardless of where they're at in their walk with him. And so as we're just kind and we can just look past the comment, if it's causing contention on my page, I will delete it because I don't want to have contention flowing through if people are really getting ramped up. And then I'll let the person know, this is something that we want to keep positive and uplifting here so it can edify those who are really struggling and needing help. And you have a right to your personal comments, I'm not just discrediting the person. I'm just keeping it away from the contention growing.
No, I love that. And I want to hear from Heidi too. Like, I know, is it President Monson who had the picture of Christ above his desk? And he said, before I do anything, I ask if Christ would do it. And I think when it comes to images and videos, would Christ do what I'm doing right now? Right? Would he teach this way? Heidi, what would you say with that? Because
that's exactly true. And I think you have to be really careful. Although I do want to say, sometimes when you have the haters or the people that are kind of get nasty on a post, it occurred to me one day that they saw it. They looked at it, they read my post. So even though maybe they were negative about it today, I hope next week sometime that comes back to them, or next year, or in 5 years. They've got that, especially when it's on an image. That's why I love making the photo quotes and the memes so much, because the image will come back to you, and a lot of times those words will ring true to you again. So yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying. We have to just be ultra careful. And kind of another thing to go along with that's not necessarily thinking about what Christ would be. I think it's really important to be careful about spelling and giving credit to the right person. And as you probably both know, on a big group, if you make a mistake, they'll tell you. You'll know right away. They're gonna, and sometimes they're not very nice about it. But I think it's really important to make sure you give credit to the right person that has said the quote. I think it's really important to be real careful about how you're typing things up. One time I made a big mistake. I'm not going to call it up from my mind, but the quote about sometimes you're the angel sent to bear up somebody else, and sometimes angels are sent to bear you up. Except for I put a T instead of the R on the last bear, so it said sometimes angels are sent to beat you up. And I didn't catch it. I was out of town and I didn't catch it till the next day. And a lot of people got a good laugh out of that, and there was a lot of comments on there. And I, kind of freaked out when I found out my mistake. Then I also realized on a platform like Facebook, in a group, anytime somebody comments, guess what? that bumps that post back up to the top of the page. And so more people get an opportunity to see it. So yeah, it was a silly mistake, but maybe a few more people saw that post because I made that mistake.
Yeah, and no, I like that point that you made. I know when I first got started with all my digital work, I quickly learned about a tool called Grammarly, where I put my enter all my text beforehand and I have it checked, so it clears that. And then I look at what other people have posted and their images and what they've used, so I can see what's common in that group and what's more popular. And then I think it's also worth, I'd bring my wife in and I'd say, what did you think of this before I post? And as you get to know your community, and Michelle, you talk about that a little bit, you realize what is good and what isn't. And so getting that feedback and that learning is important to get people's feedback early on, and then soon you understand how to do that. So let's talk a little bit about these gotchas. Number one, using images that aren't approved. What can happen if you just get some random image out there and you don't have the permission to use it? What are some risks that can come your way? Anybody have thoughts there?
I actually had this happen. I was making an image for another group, and it was the perfect image. It was the Savior with Mary and Joseph. But the person who I made this for wanted me to tag, like put his name, the name of his group on there. And without asking for permission, the woman messaged me and said, hey, this is a copyright. You need to be careful. And she gave me permission as long as I gave her credit. So I think if we can contact the person who created the image, a lot of artists are okay. We're a nonprofit organizations, and we're out there to help people and uplift them. And so they're more than willing usually to share their material or to share their images, but it's important to give the credit to that image, to the artist of that image.
No, that's good feedback. And I had that happen to me where, I did not know this, but there are legal companies that all they do is try to go after people that reused images without giving credit. So I went online and I took an image and it said, oh, you could use it, but I didn't read it very well. And it said you had to give credit. So I used it for one of my business pages. And a week later, I get this letter, and then I get this call saying, you've violated our terms. You pay us X thousands of dollars now, or we're going to take you to court. And it was a legal firm calling me, right? And it was the dumbest image. I don't know why I ever used that image. But I found myself in that position for this dumb image. And that is a serious issue that people are making a lot of money going after you for using the image you shouldn't use. So I don't know. I would love to get, Heidi, thoughts on that one is, how careful do we need to be here?
Really careful. I've honestly never had any bad experience with it, but that's because I am very careful. My dad's a photographer. I've got lots of friends that are. I do a little myself. So when in doubt, I grab my son and say, here, hold this Book of Mormon and sit here, or do this, or I'll go find a pretty picture. There are also, I like to use Unsplash. I like to use, I think it's called Pixabay, and Pexels.com. Those are all ones that you can use the pictures. Some of them have the same pictures on there. You can use those. And the church has some royalty-free ones too that you can use for stuff like this. And so we have a big database, I feel like, that we can choose from. I guess the other thing is just if somebody is worried about it, if it's from a photographer, like Michelle said, make sure you get permission. And sometimes all it takes is you just put a little PC, which means photo credit, dash, and whoever the photographer is. You do that. There is a third option, and my boss, Scott Proctor at Meridian Magazine, has a subscription to a photo stock. It's called Big Stock Photo. But he pays every month for us to be able to have access to those pictures as well. So that's, if somebody was really wanting to get into it and wanted a huge database of pictures to use, maybe they'd look into having a subscription. But some of my favorite photo quotes have been ones that I've taken right around town here with my kids, my family, and just put the words on there. One thing that I do know, and I would tell anybody trying to do this, when in doubt, use a landscape picture. Find a pretty picture of a flower or a waterfall. Use that. And I think we also have to be really careful when we're using pictures of people. You don't. You kind of want it to be a picture of a person that could be anybody. So if it's a picture of a woman, I want to be able to think, oh, that could be me. So a lot of times I'll use a silhouette or someone that's facing away, so you're not seeing their whole face.
No, that's a good. Those are really good. And the other thing I happen to encounter is if you copy a picture from Pinterest or somewhere else, and you post it on Facebook, but it's been reported as spam or is reported as a copyright infringement before to Facebook, that use will actually ding you, and your post won't be as visible because image now carries the weight of the Facebook algorithm. So that is another reason why you don't want to take them from anywhere, because you just don't want to have that come to you, because Facebook catches that and they're looking for it. So that becomes important as well.
One thing I would say is that, especially if you're trying to do this as a missionary, you don't want to have that weight. The things that I create for Meridian, for Missionary Mamas, and for my own use, I want people to share them. That's why I create them. And so if somebody was trying to be a digital missionary and they wanted to create something, I would say don't be worried about, don't post things or create things that you're going to be worried about being shared, because that's what the gospel is all about, is sharing.
Oh, I love that. So the other thing I was going to ask here was, so if I'm a missionary and I need to create images, because usually you have to write 2 posts a day. That's a lot of images. 2 posts, right? Times 30 days. You're talking about, 62 images or 60 images. That's a lot of images. How do you get people to help you create these? What would you suggest? And how do you get the members involved? And how do you, what kind? Is it better to just say, I just need images, or what would you need to tell the members to make sure that you get the images you need and what you're looking for? How would you run that process?
If my elders in my ward called me and said, hey, Sister Chapman, we got to make these photo quotes. Do you have some good pictures? I would grab my family and I'd say, what do you need? You need a boy kneeling? Come on, have my son kneel down and say it look like he's praying. You need a mountain? Let me go get a picture of a mountain. If the missionaries ask for help, especially if you've had a missionary, I promise you the moms will help. If they ask a missionary mom or a mom that's had a missionary, and we all have phones now, they all have cameras, it is not hard to get a good picture.
Sounds good. What would you suggest, Michelle? How would you suggest that missionary most adequately go through this, right? Because I think, as you said before, if they don't tell you what you want, you won't know. Like, it's really hard to do. So how prescriptive should they be in their requests to the members? Michelle, what would you suggest?
Well, most missionaries now all have Facebook pages. They can also post it. So not just so much the people in the area that they're serving, but they can reach out to their whole virtual area. And anyone can give that post. If they make it open to the world, then they can share that. So that way others are knowing that they're looking for a certain picture with a certain type of scene that that they want to put their message on. But there was something I was thinking about earlier, and this came to mind, and people need to know that you don't have to have a degree or a title to share the gospel online. When I started my page, Finding the Diamond in the Rough, I started that in 2014 in the spring. And then I started Helaman's Army in 2016. And I'm just a mom, I'm a grandma, and the Spirit guides me in all that I do. And so anyone who listens to the Lord can do this. They can share their faith and quotes about Jesus Christ and how to help other people and uplift them, because I know so many times, and I'm sure Heidi, you've had this, and maybe even you, Steve, where people will personally send you a message and say, this is exactly what I needed. Thank you. I know the Lord is aware of me.
No, that's beautiful. And I to go with that, I think we want to help. So Heidi, I want to give you your advice here, but as you're trying to map out 60 days of content, right? Being more prescriptive on, maybe this week is the prayer week, and maybe this week is the, addiction recovery week, and maybe this message is going to be about Bible study. So if you can come up with a different set of topics and subjects that you can send to the members, it'll be a lot easier for them to know how to create those images than just saying, I just need images. What's your thoughts there, Heidi? Especially as you're working with Meridian Magazine, being able to plan ahead will get you a better product than if you were just day by day figuring it out.
Yeah, well, okay, so to be honest, I do create two new, my boss calls them memes, they're memes photo quotes. I create 2 new ones and repost one that I've posted in the past. And a lot of times that's just go with my promptings on what that's going to be. I kind of just go with what's going on. So right now I'm working off of a lot of the quotes from the women's conference yesterday, because that's what's going on. When all of this stuff with coronavirus hit, people were nervous. So I was on the lookout for quotes that had to do with peace and feeling okay, and the general authorities saying, it's going to be all right. President Hinckley quotes were awesome right about that time. He's the first one to always say it's going to work out. So I don't know that I necessarily have, although I do kind of go along with what's going on in the Come Follow Me. But I feel like the missionaries, if they were reaching out to members for help, would probably have more success if they said specifically what they're looking for. I need help finding this kind of picture, or I have this quote as a word. What kind of pictures do you think I can put with it? And then let people be creative and see what they could come up with.
Oh, no, I like that idea, because you mentioned Come Follow Me, you mentioned women's conference, you mentioned the COVID and hope. So those could be, here's my 10 quotes. Can you get me pictures? Right? For each quote. That will help the member a lot better than just saying, I just need a picture. Because then there's no direction on it. Well, I appreciate both of you coming on and talking about how you guys create images, the gotchas that we need to be careful about, how to involve members, how to plan out. This has been a fabulous session. Thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.